Macmillan Audio presents Creation Machine by Andrew Bannister, read for you by Davies. Dedicated to the Leicester Writers' Club. Obel Moon. The 1003rd day of Fleare's imprisonment dawned clear and cold. Frost fuzzed the stone battlements of the monastery, and the plains 1,500 meters below were veiled in mist. Fleare paused halfway through her daily walk up the shadow stair and gathered the thin prison fatigues into folds around her, as if that would help keep out the cold. It didn't. She had been climbing for 20 minutes, and her clothes were clammy with sweat that was beginning to freeze. An unmodified human would have been in trouble by now, and she wasn't far behind. She shivered and started climbing again. Movement was vital. She was 22. She intended to live to be 23. Beside her, the small, elongated, featureless gray ovoid that followed her everywhere gave off its quiet hum. Do something. Anything to get information out. The monastery was the oldest structure on Obel. No one knew who had built it. The name wasn't original. It had first been called the monastery when it was already 1,000 years old, by a sect of flagellant penitents who had lived there at the end of the Second Industrial Age. The title had stuck for 17 millennia, and the present occupants, the Strecki Brotherhood, had kept it. The monastery rose from the dust plains in a jumble of ziggurats, domes, and spires. Not all were vertical. Some stuck out sideways. A few were upside down, and one whole section floated a little off to the side and inverted itself like an hourglass every 11th day. The whole thing came to a point in the slender, rotating tower of prayer, which tapered over its 500-meter height to little more than the width of a man's outstretched arms before expanding 2 kilometers above the plains into the lantern. Make alliances. Look for weak points, systems to subvert. Biological as well as tech. Fuck the guards if you have to. Anything to get a signal out. Boredom was the issue. Having the sole run of the monastery had helped to pass the time. Fleare spent days rooting around the huge disorganized archives that occupied most of the lower levels, studying the history of the monastery and of Obel, 2 strands that had run parallel for so many millennia that they looked like one. People said that somewhere in the partly collapsed core of the monastery were buried the remains of a temple that somehow predated the spin, or the preserved brain and genitals of a demented god-king, or the secret of eternal life. The facts were more prosaic. The place had a still-functioning power source of an unknown type, and an apparently senile AI that spoke several dead languages and answered every 9th question with an obscenity. Fleare enjoyed talking to the AI. She suspected it was less senile than it pretended. From time to time, it seemed to forget itself and become lucid and even, in a strange way, tender. Then it generally made up for its lapse with a volley of profanity. There were no other prisoners. What the Strecki knew about her was enough to put her in a security category all of her own. She had been alone on the prison transport, and when the creaking, smoke-belching machine had docked with the entry gate, with a thump that had knocked her off her feet, there had been no one to greet her. She had been conducted along dripping corridors by a floating spherical drone about twice the size of her head. It smelled strongly of ozone. She wondered why, until the first time she slowed down. It nudged her gently, and the electric shock almost knocked her out. "Where is everyone?" she had asked in the reception cell. The squat little monk hitched at his stained robes and rolled his eyes, showing dark yellow whites.
"You are everyone," he told her. "Solitary confinement. No one wants to get near a filthy slot crotch like you. Even the guards won't come further in than the 2nd circle, so you'll be making your own entertainment. I know what you foul sluts get up to."
He licked his lips.
"There are cameras."
Fleare suppressed a shudder. "Don't you prefer boys?" she asked innocently. He grinned, showing black teeth.
"Say what you like," he said. "Your ransom's 10 billion standard. Until someone raises that, you're stuck here on your own. Or not quite."
He waved towards the cell door.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?